After going over purine degradation and salvage, we can finally discuss the purine salvage deficiencies, Lesch-Nyhan syndrome and adenosine deaminase deficiency. To understand them, we'll check out the Feast of Fools. The Feast of Fools is a widely celebrated holiday that took place every January in France during the Middle Ages. Everyone loved the Feast of Fools because it was their chance to be ludicrous and act a fool. So go ahead, put your shoes on your head, dance on your hands, eat cat food, and don't follow the rules. Okay, I don't know, maybe skip the cat food. Or don't, whatever. Let's start with Lesch-Nyhan syndrome, which will be represented by the jester walking his dog on a leash. He's being watched closely by the high priest, who doesn't exactly look thrilled. Maybe it's because his dog is dressed like the high priest? Anyways, Lesch-Nyhan syndrome is an X-linked recessive disease caused by deficiency in hypoxanthine guanine phosphoribosal transferase, aka HGPRT. The high priest hiding, or receding, behind the X will help you remember that it's X-linked recessive. Recall that HGPRT recycles hypoxanthine and guanine into their respective nucleotides, IMP and GMP. Because these patients can't recycle hypoxanthine and guanine, they accumulate in tissues and result in increased production of uric acid. We'll use our recurring sketchy symbol of a ball of yellow yarn to show hyperuricemia. Excess uric acid results in the formation of uric acid crystals, which may deposit in joints, tendons, and connective tissues, resulting in gout. Gout is a form of inflammatory arthritis that usually presents with redness, swelling, and tenderness in the affected joint. Gout commonly occurs in the metatarsophalangeal joint of the big toe. This is also called podagra. To remember gout, think of the red ball on the toe of the jester holding the leash. Lesch-Nyhan syndrome also results in aggression and self-injury behaviors like nail, finger, lip, and tongue biting, while laughing aggressively at the poor priest. That's not very nice. Affected individuals will also have developmental delay and intellectual disability. The sign that says expect delays will help you remember developmental delay. These patients may have dystonia, characterized by involuntary muscle contractions that result in slow, repetitive movements, twisting, and abnormal postures. If you look closely, you'll see the jester's legs kicking back randomly and his hand muscles twitching as he holds onto the leash. Lesch-Nyhan patients develop macrocytic anemia because red blood cell DNA synthesis is impaired. Those giant red juggling balls are not to scale. But these balls might be. Affected males may have testicular atrophy. And let's just say that this symbol practically drew itself. Okay, let's talk treatment. The goal is to control symptoms. Allopurinol may be helpful in preventing gout and uric acid kidney stones. Febuxostat is a second-line option for patients who can't take allopurinol. Both of these drugs are xanthine oxidase inhibitors that block synthesis of uric acid. Let that disapproving nun and the love note she confiscated remind you of them. The second purine metabolic disease we'll talk about is adenosine deaminase, or ADA deficiency. Well, there's Esmeralda being Esmeralda. She's messing with deanimator. Recall from the purine salvage sketch, deanimator represents ADA. We'll use the area immediately surrounding the falling deanimator to illustrate ADA deficiency. ADA deficiency is an autosomal recessive disorder that's one of the major causes of severe combined immunodeficiency, or SCID. How will you remember that ADA deficiency is autosomal recessive? 2 words: hiding hunchback. Also note the skid mark on the canvas. SCID for severe combined immunodeficiency. ADA is needed to metabolize adenosine and deoxyadenosine. ADA deficiency results in excess deoxy-ATP. Deoxy-ATP is an allosteric inhibitor of ribonucleotide reductase, an enzyme that's needed to make deoxynucleotides from ribonucleotides. See those B archers and T knights on the floor? They represent the B and T lymphocytes. You should know that excess purine degradation byproducts are toxic to these cells. Most patients with ADA deficiency will have the more severe form of the disease. Since they're immunocompromised, they're at very high risk for developing recurrent and life-threatening bacterial, fungal, viral, and protozoal infections. The skin, lungs, and GI tract are usually affected. They may also present with chronic persistent diarrhea and failure to thrive in the first 6 months of life. Patients with the mild form of disease will usually develop symptoms later in life. ADA deficiency may be treated with hematopoietic stem cell transplant, hematopoietic stem cell gene therapy, or enzyme replacement therapy. Out with the old and in with the new. Whether that's replacing the caricaturist at the festival or your enzymes. Huh. Now that I say it out loud, it doesn't seem entirely analogous. Oh well. Alright, let's leave this pile of fools behind. Lesch-Nyhan syndrome is an X-linked recessive disease caused by a deficiency in HGPRT. It results in accumulation of hypoxanthine and guanine because they can't be recycled to their respective nucleotides. These patients present with hyperuricemia, gout, self-injury behaviors like nail, finger, lip, and tongue biting, aggression, developmental delay, intellectual disability, and dystonia. They also present with macrocytic anemia, and affected males will have testicular atrophy. Allopurinol and febuxostat are used to prevent gout in these patients. ADA deficiency is an autosomal recessive disease and the most common cause of SCID. These patients can't metabolize adenosine nucleotides. Therefore, deoxyadenosine and deoxy-ATP accumulate inside tissues. Deoxy-ATP inhibits ribonucleotide reductase, which is necessary for DNA synthesis. ADA deficiency affects mitotically active T and B lymphocytes. Patients with the most severe form of disease will present with life-threatening infections, chronic persistent diarrhea, and failure to thrive in the first 6 months of life. Treatment options include hematopoietic stem cell transplant or gene therapy or enzyme replacement therapy.